Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy to be with you all. If this is your first time on the Other Side podcast, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat so that way I can shout you out. And if you are returning, welcome back. Welcome back to the Other Side podcast, where we love to explore the journey of mental health and how we can all navigate that better. And I'm excited to be here with you. My name is Janelle Villiers, and I am your host. Excited because today we're going to be talking about a topic that I was talking with somebody else about it. Like it was just a conversation that we were having about people and healing, and how can one be healed? What are the steps for healing? Are there some people who can't ever be healed? And I thought this was a really good topic to explore. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Today we're talking about the healing journey and the secrets that are involved there. So I have a lot of thoughts. Number one is that it is a journey, definitely not a destination. And I think most of us understand that now. At least if you're here on this podcast, you totally understand that. But I thought first we'd talk about some myths that are out there. Number one, the myth that time heals all wounds. I don't really think that's the case, because I think if you just let time go, but you suppress everything, that's not really healing. Healing involves actually looking at what's causing you pain, which can be very painful. It's not a fun thing to explore the things that have hurt you, the ways that you have hurt yourself, the ways that others have maybe hurt you in the past, any traumas, anything like that. So I would say that time healing the wounds isn't necessarily the case. I think there's intentional work that needs to take place. So it's active. It's an active, conscious journey that we're on. I think the other lie or myth that we hear a lot of the time is that healing is linear. Like there's a step-by-step process for healing. No, much like grief, there is no linear way in which this goes. There isn't like do this step and then do this step next, and then after you do that, this other thing will happen. That's not how it works at all, actually. You can regress. Like, how many of you have ever been out there where you start thinking like, oh yeah, I'm doing well, I'm doing and then you get triggered by something, and next thing you know, you're like, how am I spiraling mentally right now? Like, what is going on? I think if it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, I was telling you guys a story about how I was at this golf club and I had like this, I totally freaked out. I was triggered by a man seemingly not disciplining me, but like trying to make sure that I was okay. But like my body reacted to what just occurred, and it was like it was almost like an out of body experience. Like I was like, what is happening to me? Like I could feel my body shutting down, and I didn't understand why it was happening. And I was trying to calm myself down, and it was a lot all happening at once. And just when I thought everything was fine, right? Something really simple and small and almost innocuous, right, can just throw you right back. And so healing is definitely not linear. You could regress and then you come back. It's definitely like a mountain, right? That has like its ups and downs. You don't always continually go up the mountain. Like you go up and then you come down a little bit, then you go up, then you come down a little bit as you continue to climb up. So one of the other myths I thought we should talk about as well is this like positive vibes only thing that a lot of people talk about. And there's nothing wrong with positive vibes. I am here to support anyone who is trying to keep the negative vibes at bay. Totally get that and respect that. I just think it creates this environment or this culture where we don't recognize some of the negative emotions that we feel. And if you're having some of those negative emotions, again, if you don't sit with them, if you don't actually acknowledge them, then they're just going to get pushed down and stuffed, and then will show up at some other point in your life, probably not the best time. So I don't think it's necessarily like positive vibes only and all of that. There's also a part of it that requires you to look at some of those negative emotions. Maybe you don't need to express those negative emotions to every single person that's around you, but it's certainly worth exploring. I highly recommend exploring with a professional, of course. But there are many different methods to exploring all of that. So those are some myths. If you feel like you have heard people tell you any one of those myths and you realize, I wonder why they're saying that, because I really don't feel like that's true. Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So let's talk about some insights that might help with some breakthroughs along with your healing journey. And if you've ever heard of the book called The Body Keeps a Score, I want to just come back to that and emphasize that. So anytime you are having some negative thoughts, you're triggered into traumatic experiences that you've had in your past, any of those things, there is a physical reaction that happens in your body. For me, I was telling you guys again about that example of me being at the golf course, and I could feel my body shutting down. Like I could feel myself getting smaller and going like this, almost like physically trying to hide. I could feel my heart like racing, and my mind started to race. Like it was like hard for me to focus on even what the guy was saying to me, right? Like my body was having a reaction, even if mentally I was like in a different place. And so the body definitely does hold on to certain things. And so one of the best ideas I think you can use to help navigate yourself through that is just breathing techniques. I really love the 5-4-1 box breathing technique. So it's essentially you breathe in for 4, hold for 1, and then breathe out for 5. Or wait, correct me if I got this wrong. Or is it 4-5-5? So you breathe in for 4, hold for 5, and then breathe out for 5. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong. But I tend to do whatever way however long you hold your breath. I do know that the releasing of your breath, the breathing out, should be longer than the breathing in. This tells your body to relax. Same thing if you're trying to go to bed and your mind is racing and you feel really anxious, try that breathing technique. I would even say breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 8. Really, really slow down the breathing. Coach Eileen, if you ever watch this episode, Coach Eileen helps people breathe better because people don't even realize that they're just breathing in a way that creates a reaction within their body and then, of course, within their mind. And she's constantly talking about being aware of your breathing and how you're breathing. And so this is a really easy thing that you can do. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, but I find it really helpful to use those breathing techniques anytime I'm feeling anxious. Also works before going to bed if you're feeling a little anxious and not able to go to bed right away or go to sleep right away. The other thing is that you really should realize that your healing journey is going to be different from everyone else's. It's going to be unique to you. Nobody's journey looks the same, right? Everybody's healing journey is different. And I think it's really important that you create a personalized strategy for yourself. What does it look like for you? Certainly you can do some of the breathing techniques I talked about. You can do journaling. You can go see a therapist. You can do yoga, meditation, right? There's so many different things that you can do. So whatever works for you, I say you should incorporate that to make your journey unique for yourself. There isn't like a one size fits all. And then I think radical self-compassion is necessary for your healing journey as well. And what that looks like is just really taking a look at what you've experienced, especially in the past, especially when you're looking at traumatic experiences, and just recognizing that you were doing the best that you could with the knowledge and wisdom that you had at the time. And that was just the best that you could do, right? You weren't, it's not like, a lot of times things that happened to us when we were little too, right? Like you're small, you're a little kid. You're not able to do more than what you're capable of doing as a little kid. And so there's that, addressing your childhood traumas. But then even right now, as you're living your life and you're dealing with things that are hard, you're dealing with negative emotions, just radical self-compassion. I'm doing the best that I can with the limited resources, the knowledge, wisdom that I have. And at least you know that you can reach out for help. Those kinds of things. You're not a bad person. You are not the thing that you did in your past. You are someone who's learning and growing and continuing to do better. And that is probably a really radical concept right now, but it's one that we should all be taking as we are going along with our healing journey. Okay, so let's talk about some practical tips. So for your holistic healing toolkit, I recommend a lot of different practices. So therapy, certainly see a professional. Journaling is really helpful. I've started doing this thing in the morning where I wake up and I do a gratitude journal. You guys know that I do my gratitude journal where I write at least 5 things that I'm grateful for. But then right after that, I started just writing down at least 3 emotions that I'm feeling right in the very beginning of the morning. It has been really, really helpful in a way that I didn't expect. So this is a part of the journaling. There's no right or wrong answer. I just literally just like, what am I feeling right now? Anxious. What am I feeling right now? Worried. What am I feeling right now? Joyful. I'm actually really happy this morning. What am I feeling right? Just writing it down is really, really helpful. I find that sometimes the things that like have been happening from the day before are usually present right at the very beginning of the morning as I wake up. And so it's easy to capture those feelings because sometimes we have so many feelings, it's hard to identify all the different feelings that we're having at once. And remember, if you've been here before, I've told you this, it's totally normal and expected that you have multiple emotions at once. You don't normally have one emotion going through you at a time. So anyway, but just in the morning, I think your mind is just open and available to you to be able to identify those things easier, because later in the day when you think about all your to-do lists and the things that you have to do and all these things, then you start to like suppress the emotions and it's harder to identify. So I have found this really helpful in a way that I didn't expect. Movement. So yoga is a moving meditation. So I definitely recommend meditation if that works for you. And there have been several studies that show that meditation is really, really powerful, including people who use meditation to physically heal their body, not just their minds, but their bodies as well. So highly recommend you tune into Dr. Joe Dispenza if that's something that you want to learn more about. He also believes that you should be meditating on your future and your future self and your future goals instead of meditating on the past, because you can't change that. But what you can do is you can focus on who you want to be in the future. Mind-blowing. It seems really simple, but it's something that we can all improve upon doing in our daily practice. Movement. So back to the yoga. Yoga is a moving meditation, but any kind of movement. For those of you who are 40 and over, like myself, remember that we lose muscles. So I highly recommend that you do some sort of weight training or resistance training anyway to help build the muscle that we're losing. Not only does this does something for your physical body, but also for your mind. It's tons of studies that show that doing physical exercise in general just really helps improve your mind. And finally, nutrition. On my other channel, Say That Channel, we've actually had a couple of nutritionists on who talk about the importance of what we eat and how it can actually impact our minds. But it's true. I mean, if you keep eating junk, right, like what goes in comes out. And so if you're constantly eating overly processed foods, it definitely has been associated with brain fog. You're not able to concentrate, can't really make decisions easily, can't process your emotions, those types of things. So you want to eat things that you know are going to be good for your body. And maybe you're thinking, oh, but those don't taste good. Believe me, there are so many alternatives for healthy options that actually taste good and make you feel good. So definitely look into those. So healing is really just multidimensional. It's not just one thing. It really is everything. So I would suggest that you make a personalized toolkit for yourself that includes any and all of these things. Something else that I think is really important is setting boundaries. I have a friend who loves to remind me that no is a full sentence. If you guys remember having a Kiko Bass on, she was a suicide survivor. That was one of the things that she has been learning and really been an advocate for. Please remember that no is a full and complete sentence, and that you can say no without feeling guilt. You're just setting a boundary that you know that you can or cannot do something. And boundaries can actually protect your healing energy. So if you are in a process and you're going through things, you just don't have capacity to deal with every single invitation that you're offered, or every single event that you want to go to, or every single discussion that you're invited to take part in. Sometimes you just need to create boundaries around that. And that's totally fine and healthy and normal. The last thing that I wanted to bring up is you can really embrace micro moments of healing. So I highly recommend doing like small daily things. These are small daily choices that potentially you can even make. like the journaling, I'm going to make this small choice to spend 2 to 5 minutes journaling this morning. It's not a lot of time, but you'd be surprised how much you can get out of those 2 to 5 minutes. And so that's where the healing happens, in those small incremental moments. And so I think if we focus on those micro moments of healing, they're really helpful, because a lot of times you think, oh, when I feel completely happy, when I'm completely over that guy, or when I'm completely over that gal, or when my business takes off, or when my family is now talking to each other, then I'll be healed. Then all of the but the truth is, it's not. Again, it's a journey. So it's these little things, these little choices, these little moments that happen throughout our days and our lives that I think is where the real true healing occurs. And so celebrate those small victories of healing. Like, you notice that you made some change. You notice that something that used to trigger you no longer triggers you. Like, woo, that's exciting. Congratulations. Good on you. You've created another level of healing, awareness, all the different things. And so I'm really, really proud of you. If you don't say it yourself, I'm proud of you. And so these are all the things that are really important to use when you are on your healing journey. So let's do a recap. So first, we talked about some hidden myths that are seen in our healing journey. The first one, time heals all wounds. It's not actually true. Healing is linear. Also not true. Go all over the place. And the third one was that this positive vibes only culture, which really just suppresses our negative emotions and then doesn't allow us to express those or examine those. That way we can sit with them and then move past them. So some breakthroughs that are really helpful is that some insights to help with your healing, is that the body keeps a score. The body really does hold on to a lot of the negative energy, a lot of the negative emotions that you have. The second thing is that your healing journey is going to be highly individualized. Everybody's going to have a unique process for them. And the third thing is, if we employ radical self-compassion, I'm just doing the best that I can with what I've got and the moment that I've got it, just radically give yourself compassion and accept, where you are and what's going on. And then finally, some practical tips for the journey is, number one, you want to create a holistic healing toolkit. So that's not just journaling, but also things like movement and nutrition even. You want to make sure that you're establishing healthy boundaries. Definitely want to make sure of that. And you want to embrace these micro moments of healing. Super, super helpful. And I really hope that you include that in your toolkit for your healing journey. So, was this helpful for you? Please let me know in the chat if it was. I want to hear from you. When I was thinking about what I was going to say and when I was going over, I found it really helpful to say these things out loud, to identify them, to bullet point them for you, because I am also on this journey with you all. And I am also experiencing many of the things that you guys are experiencing. So I love that I have this community with you guys to do this together. So you will see me again next week, same time, different topic. Love to see you there. Have a good night.